Good evening everyone and welcome to Gundam News. And this week we're starting with the announcement of some new regular release Gunpla. But of course we all know there's going to be some kind of catch. For 1,540 yen, 10 US, we are getting the SDW Heroes Onmitsu Gundam Aerial, a ninja-inspired machine that has so much blue and gold coloring on it that the only place it can hide is in a jewelry store. All kidding aside though, it is a fancy looking model kit and it's also got some pre-painted parts to make it look fancy even as a straight build. And it also changed how some of the gun bits combine because most of them are no longer used as weapons and they're just permanently stuck to the machine, but a few of them are used to form a giant shuriken. Because, you know, they gotta show you that this is a ninja somehow. For 1,760 and then 12 US, we have the Musha Gundam the 78th. And again, just like the Aerial, this is a very fancy looking thing, which is made even cooler by having those pre-painted parts. Or maybe it would be more accurate to say that they are parts with decals pre-applied to them, because they're using a new variation of the in-molding technique they used on the Witch from Mercury models. And they're calling this thing Kira Hagane. And at least on the promotional images, it does look pretty good. Not quite as good as pre-painted or painting it yourself, but way better than just regular old foil stickers, especially on more three-dimensional surfaces. And for also 1,760 yen, 12 US, there is the Tenka Muso Dai Shogun. An even more gaudy Gunpla that is almost entirely gold. And while it doesn't come with any Kira Hagane parts, it can transform into Phoenix mode, and it's also possible to only transform the Striker pack. The Aerial and Musha Gundam are slated for a February release, the Muso is slated for a March release, and all three of them are up for pre-order as we speak, so I will have them linked down below. And the other Gunpla news then simply consists of a second round of pre-orders for the high-grade Ghost Gundam and high-grade Gundam Maxter, and extra pre-orders for the Lafrith Jiu and Lafrith Anavata, over at Japanese P-Bandai of course. The other headline then has to do with Gundam Seed Freedom. We've got the setting images and also the names and voice actors of the characters belonging to the new faction. We have Liu Shenqiang, voiced by Kentaro Tone, Daniel Harper, voiced by Yoshitsugu Matsuoka, who also did Doji from Gundam Build Divers, Griffin Arbalest, who has a currently unknown voice actor, so we'll have to see who that is, Orphe Lam Tao, voiced by Hiro Shimono, who also did Takuya Irei in both Unicorn and Gundam Narrative, Aura Maha Kyber, voiced by Yukari Tamura, who was Girl C in episode 12 of the 08 MS team, Ingrid Tradol, voiced by Sumire Uesaka, who also did Shion Daikuji in New Gundam Breaker, Radelard Tradol, voiced by Misato Fukuen, who voiced Frabo in The Origin and Kukuruzawan's Island, and Shura Serpentine, voiced by Yuichi Nakamura, who did Riccardo Fellini from the original Gundam Build Fighters. Personally, I wasn't really a fan of the character design of Shura, but now that I know his voice actor, I'm feeling him quite a bit more already. But personal biases aside, even though we now have their names and their art, we still don't know who they belong to and what their goals are. And the theory that I've currently landed on is that maybe they're gonna be like Gundam Seed's version of Axis. But instead of exiled Zeon forces, they're like from Mars, and they decide to launch some kind of mission to the Earth sphere, which then creates a conflict because multiple parties want to ally themselves with them, and those parties want to be the only ally with them. What we do know then is that most of them are pilots because they also released their pilot suits, and I gotta say, I really do like that they all have their own customized helmets. Like, I especially like Daniel's helmet design, which kind of reminds me of a Hollow from Bleach. But that is everything that we know so far. On the figure front then, the thing that surprised me the most was the G-frame full armor high mobility type Kaempfer, which is like a kit bash of the Kaempfer and the Gerbera Tetra with a like slightly customized B machine gun of the Gelgoog Marine Commander type. But that is far from the only accessories that this thing comes with. It's also got a longer barrel for the gun, 2 bazookas with mounting racks, an extended shotgun, a collapsed shotgun, 2 Sturmfaust, a single beam saber, a very different looking version of the chain mine, both in deployed and stored configurations, an action base for that chain mine to have it in action, and an action base for the mobile suit itself. And of course, a piece of soda flavored chewing gum. What didn't surprise me then is that this thing is Premium Bandai Limited and goes for a whopping 5,720 yen. And in my surprise, I forgot to write down the exact conversion price, but that's like 40 US before import costs, taxes, and whatever. Basically, it is more expensive than most master grades, and this is like a hybrid model kit action figure that is only about the size of a high grade. Also, it'll come flying your way in January if you decide to go for it. And almost as expensive at 5,225 yen. Again, I forgot to write down the exact conversion price, so that's going to be like 40 US again, is the Premium Bandai Limited FW Gundam Converge Core, The Return of Johnny Ridden set. But at least in this set, we do get 3 different figures. The Gelgoog Vertex Testarossa, which comes with the Gerbera's beam rifle, beam Naginata, buckler shield, and regular beam rifle, and is piloted by the titular Johnny Ridden. The Gelgoog Vertex Kuranos, which comes with a very interesting melee weapon, as well as the beam Naginata, buckler shield, and regular beam rifle, and is piloted by Uma Lightning. And then we have the Gelgoog Vertex Xantos, which comes with a custom Hyper Mega Launcher, custom Gelgoog head that uses the sensor of the Zaku Flipper, regular Gelgoog cannon head, beam Naginata, buckler shield, and regular beam rifle. And this thing is piloted by Jacobius Node. And these can be shipped to your door in March alongside their mothership, the Argama-Class Nikaya, also from the FW Gundam Converge lineup. It'll be yours for 4,950 yen, around 35 US, and it is slightly more different from the previously released Argama than you might think, because not only does it have a new color scheme, but the bridge is also different. And finally for the figures, the Jumbo Soft Vinyl SD Guntank and RX-78 Player 2 colors that I talked about last week have gone up for pre-order at regular Japanese hobby stores, linked down below, and the Robot Spirits MSN04FF Sazabi Lobster fin funnel type that I talked about quite a few weeks ago has gone up for pre-order on Japanese Premium Bandai, and previously this was like a Fukuoka limited figure. Next up then, something that is still somewhat related to figures are these Gundam Seed Freedom plushies that will be releasing in January. For 2,420 yen each, 16 US, you can get a plushie of Kira, Atheron, Lacus, or Izak, and for 1,320 yen each, 9 US, you can get a plush keychain of Kira, Athrun, or Izak. Also, because of how they did and colored Izak's eyes, I think it kind of looks like he's crying now. Poor Izak. And reservations on Premium Bandai have also begun for the Carddass SD Gundam Gaiden Sekihei Monogatari Superior Dragon Edition. This card set goes for 6,000 yen, 40 US, and comes with 40 shiny cards and a 12-page booklet. Meanwhile, on the gaming front then, in Gundam Battle Operation 2 for the PlayStation, the full armored double-Zeta Gundam has joined the fun, alongside a step-up supply drop for the thing. There's a new map, the Mass Driver map, and the Autumn Festival has begun, giving out a variety of things. In UC Engage, the ultra-rare new Gundam and Amuro Ray have become available as a super limited item, but more importantly, they've released a new trailer with some of that new old footage of a girl stealing the Gundam Mark II, and then there's also another new old animation that has become available in the game. Based on the promotional images, like the main character is a Zaku 1, and it also shows the end of the war in Side 3. But at the moment of recording, I haven't been able to find the actual video yet. Although I'm sure that by the time this video goes live, it will be somewhere on YouTube, maybe even subbed as well. And what will definitely be available is Bamco's sale on console, which includes pretty much every Gundam game available on the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, and the Switch. And finally, Gundam.info has released some pictures of the SD Gundam G Generation Eternal test at the Tokyo Game Show. Nothing too crazy was shown, but we did get to see an interesting lineup of mobile suits and pilots that I'm assuming are also going to be available at launch. Like, nobody is surprised to see things like the Wing Zero and Hiro, the Strike Gundam and Kira, or the RX-78-2 and Amuro. But it is very interesting to see that units like the Gemkamov and this weird Haro thing are going to be available at launch. And the same goes for the pilots. We've got the Astray Trio and Sven Kolbeong, relatively normal, but we also have Shio Hanenfuss and Ed the Ripper from Gundam Seed's MSV. So again, a really cool lineup at launch. Now I just got to see Mayrin Hawke, and I'm ready to put quite some hours into this game. And in other news, in Arita, an RX-78-2 and Goof manhole have been installed as part of the Gundam Manhole project, with the RX-78-2 featuring the Tombai Wall and the Goof featuring the Izumiyama Quarry, a historic site of the region. Then we've got some cool new art from the Haro Carbon Neutral project from Kazuhisa Kondo. We got some more art of the El-Meth girl, showing both the El-Meth add-on parts and the Gelgu girl herself from behind. And there are two things that I want to point out here. First up, I really do like how you can see like the heads-up display of the El-Meth from behind. And second then, the Gelgu girl has a backpack that looks like a modified Gyan backpack instead of a backpack from one of the many Gelgu versions out there. And then last but not least, we have somewhat Gundam Cafe news, thanks to a collaboration of Witch from Mercury with Sweet's Paradise. But instead of food that is based on the anime, it is now food that has been created by the voice actresses of the main characters. So we have Suleta's Loving Omurice, created by Kana Ichinose, and yes, that stutter is in the actual name of the thing, and a drink that is called Those Irreplaceable Days with You and the Sunset, created by Lin. And I'm assuming that the drink is very colorful because the Japanese word that is used for irreplaceable here literally translates to gems. So you have a lot of gems in the drink. The omurice goes for 800 yen, 5 US. The drink goes for 600 yen, 4 US. And when you order one, you'll also get one of 4 random coasters. The collaboration will be held at Sweet Paradise Solado in Harajuku and lasts from October the 2nd to November the 5th. As for the things you could get this week then, on Friday, the original Jim, Charles the Gog, NT1 Alex, and Zaku Kai had a restock of their Robot Spirits figures. On the same day, you could also get 2 new Gundam Marker X colors, being Wings of Light Hollow Blue and Psycho Frame Hollow Green, both going for 660 yen apiece, 4 US. On Wednesday, the first volume of Witch from Mercury's second season was released on Blu-ray and DVD in a variety of sets, going for a variety of prices. Today, the real great Epyon got released for 4,620 yen, around 30-35 US, and includes some really cool dragon-like gimmicks with its already very dragon-like transformation. And then throughout the week, the Gundam Girls' Generation Lunamaria Hawke swimsuit version has hit store shelves for 24,200 yen, 162 US, and so did these Witch from Mercury rubber keychains and acrylic stands, each going for 770 yen each, 5 US. For this week's Gundam reading material then, there was the 20th issue of Big Comic Superior, in which Gundam Thunderbolt is being serialized, the November issue of Shonen Sunday S, in which Gundam Aggressor is being serialized, the November issue of Model Graphics, featuring a bunch of Witch from Mercury high-grade models, the November issue of Hobby Japan, featuring a special on water-based paints, the November issue of Gundam Ace, which celebrates the final volume of the very popular The Return of Johnny Raiden manga, and comes with a B3 poster of the Chimera Squadron. We had the physical version of Volume 12 of Gundam Forward, which is all about Witch from Mercury. There was the English ebook version of Gundam Forward focusing on Gundam Seed Kits, which was released on Amazon US, UK, Canada, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, and the Netherlands. Then there was a new version of Developers Before 1 Year War, Mobile Suit Textbook Shark's Counterattack and Gundam Unicorn version, and we also got a bunch of tankobon manga volumes this week. The first volume of Walpurgis Eve, a side story of the original Walpurgis manga, which is available as both a regular edition or a special edition. The first volume of the Red Giant 3rd MS Team. The second volume of Gundam N Extreme. The third volume of Code Fairy. The fourth and final volume of Hathaway's Flash. And finally, the 26th and final volume of The Return of Johnny Raiden, which is also available as a normal version or a special version. On to this week's Gundam apparel then, where Strict G kicked things off last week Friday with some Gundam-inspired Skajan, also known as Yokosuka jumpers or souvenir jackets. They go for 29,700 yen, 199 US, and there are 2 available designs. Earth Federation, which is blue and gray with an RX-78-2 Gundam on one side, or when turned inside out, it's just plain gray. And Zeon, which is black and gray with a Shard Zaku on one side, and it becomes completely red when you turn that one inside out. And on the same day, pre-orders for 3 belts began over at Bankore. They're styled after Zeon, the Sazabi family, and Zaft, and can be yours in December for 12,980 yen, 87 US. And continuing with Bankore, on Wednesday, we had some good news for people who want to cosplay as Amuro in his underwear. I'm sure there's at least one such person out there. At least. For 3,850 yen, 26 US, you can get yourself a pair of trunks based on either Amuro's shorts from the first Gundam or on his boxers from Char's Counterattack. And my only complaint here is that they're not quite the same. Like, the OG one matches up quite well, but in Char's Counterattack, Amuro is wearing boxer shorts and not trunks. So it would have been cool if they also, if they still had these, but also released an actual, like, 1-to-1 boxer short. You know, for the added authenticity. But anyway, also on that day, the Freedom Gundam and Justice Gundam Real-Type Color Version collection also went up for pre-order, giving us some really cool new art of the two Gundams on a few items. A full color t-shirt for 3,850 yen, 26 US, an actual full color t-shirt for 4,400 yen, 30 US, a vertical towel for 3,850 yen, 26 US, and a horizontal towel for 3,850 yen, 26 US. And then finally today, pre-orders went live for two character collections. One featuring Lacus and her iconic hair clip, and another one featuring Marita Cruz and her iconic quad wing. You can get the designs on a t-shirt for 4,400 yen, 30 US, a tote bag for 2,750 yen, 18 US, a bath towel for 4,400 yen, 30 US, a face towel for 2,200 yen, 15 US, a mug for 2,530 yen, 17 US, and an acrylic stand for 1,980 yen, 13 US. And all of this Banquete stuff is slated for a November release. And now, let's quickly wrap things up with the polls. September the 25th was apparently Antique Day in Japan, so Gundam.info wanted to know what our favorite antique mech is from Gundam. And I don't think the machine that got first place will surprise anyone. The Turn A Gundam with 36.5%. A machine that is often considered as both the oldest and most powerful mobile suit in all of Gundam. And it looks pretty unique too. What did surprise me then was the popularity of the Guntank R44. Like, F91 as a whole has seen quite a resurgence in recent years, and I guess this might have played a role in the Guntank getting 24.5%. Like, still a quite big margin with the Turn A, but, I mean, considering what both things are, still pretty close, I would say. But what also played a role, undoubtedly, is the fact that despite being the youngest machine on the list, it actually, like, performed the most like how you would expect an antique machine to do. It was woefully inadequate on the battlefield that it eventually sortied in, and when it tried to fire one of its cannons, it blew up because of bad maintenance. In third place then, we have the Barbs with a very close 22.7%, and then in last place with only 16.3%, we have the Cattle. But I would say that this funky machine can still take pride in that 16.3%, because it's in a poll with the Turn A Gundam and the Barbs, like two really popular mobile suits. So even though it lost, I would still consider this a win. And that has been all for this week's Gundam news. As always, a big thank you to the Patreon supporters. I hope everyone watching has a great evening, and I'll see you all next week with more Gundam news.